You are listening to Hold Fast, a podcast where we have biblical truths for daily battles. My name is Kenny. I'm the host of the podcast, and it is getting pretty close to Christmas as of the recording of this episode. This episode is dropping on December 16th. And something you may not know about me is that if you were to ask my wife, she would probably tell you that I'm a Scrooge or a Grinch about Christmas. And she's partially right in the fact that I love Christmas. I love the traditions, the lights, the gifts, the events, all the things, the eggnog. What I don't like is putting up Christmas decorations. And so what my wife often sees is her asking me to get down the Christmas decorations and me grumbling and complaining about it. She'll see me in the yard putting the candy cane lights in the ground, and I'm grumbling and complaining as I'm doing that. And I am trying to work on that a bit, but I don't like putting up decorations. I don't mind as much taking them down as I don't like putting them up. I don't even really know the full reason why. It's just not something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy when they're up. I enjoy enjoying them, but it's not my favorite thing to do. Now, I want to talk about how we can, as Christians, actually enjoy the Christmas season, and our enjoyment of the Christmas season, our enjoyment of all of these things surrounding Christmas can actually be an act of worship. Now, there are some people who believe that Christmas is pagan, and honestly, this episode is not going to really address that at all because it's not the point of the episode. It's not an issue that I've run into at MissionWay Church, really, or the people who are part of this church. So if that's you're listening to this and you're starting from the standpoint of you just think that Christmas and all the traditions associated with it are pagan, I'm going to link in the show notes of this episode a diagram from a guy named Wesley Huff, somebody who I really like. He's a theologian, an apologist, Christian who just has a lot of good content out there, and he has this whole diagram that demonstrates how Christmas is not actually pagan like is often thrown around. So if you're interested in that, or that's something you want to contend with, then feel free to turn off this episode and go and check out Wes Huff's diagram. I want to talk about how we can enjoy the festivities of Christmas and do it as Christians and do it in a way that is actually worship to the Lord. Now, there are many Christians who struggle with, you may not think that Christmas is pagan. You may not take it that far. But on a lesser level, you may wonder if we take the Christmas festivities a little bit too far, like enjoying all the Christmas celebrations so much so to the point that we forget the real meaning of Christmas. I remember a song that was sang in my church back in the Bahamas years ago that was from the perspective of a little girl who saw the line to see Santa Claus in the mall, and the song asked the question, where's the line to see Jesus? And I think there are a lot of Christians who feel that, right? It's like, where is the line to see Jesus at Christmas time? Have we really forgotten the point of it all? And I do believe there is a danger in getting so obsessed with the Christmas season and the festivities and traditions and all things Christmas, right? And in terms of the secular nature of Christmas, I think we can get so wrapped up in that we do miss the real meaning of the season. And so that's a danger. But I want to actually suggest that you can, on a healthy level, enjoy these things and worship Jesus while doing so. Yes, I'm saying that I believe that while baking gingerbread men with your kids, sipping on hot chocolate with Christmas music in the background and a glowing Christmas tree behind you, you can actually be worshiping Jesus in that moment. And I want to make the case for what I'm calling a better way to enjoy Christmas. I think that we make, as Christians, not just around Christmas time, but I think in general, we can sometimes make too hard of a distinction between the spiritual and then the quote unquote normal parts of life or the normal parts of Christmas. So we have Jesus over here on one side, and then on the complete opposite side, we have the lights, the events, the presents, and traditions. And we may not actively think this, but we act as if you have your church service on Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve like we do at MissionWay, and then you have your festivities that you enjoy for Christmas time, but the two can't mix. They're just so complete opposite of each other that you don't really blend the two. But, and here's my biblical support for the idea that I'm suggesting in this episode, if James 1:17 is true, then I think we can actually delight in and worship Jesus while drinking eggnog and opening gifts. What does James 1:17 say? It says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. So every good gift that we enjoy, every blessing and good thing that we enjoy in this life is actually ultimately from the Lord. Yes, you can take these things too far, but the point of the episode that I want to make is that you can actually, if you enjoy them properly, if you enjoy them in the right context, if you enjoy them with a heart of thankfulness and gratitude to the Lord for Him blessing us with these things, it can actually be an act of worship. We shouldn't feel guilty enjoying the blessings of the Christmas season. We should see those blessings as a reminder of the goodness of God. So, sometimes people will read the Christmas story from Luke chapter 2, for example, on Christmas morning before they open gifts. And sometimes it's almost treated as like there's this separate thing over here where we have to read the Christmas story because it's Jesus' birthday. We want to make sure and we celebrate that and remember that. And then we'll move on to something completely different as we open gifts. And it's certainly true that Christ is the reason for our celebration. He is the central aspect of the Christian life, the central aspect of everything we do. He should be the central aspect of Christmas. But I think it's also good to say that it is the birth of Christ that ensures that all the other stuff isn't meaningless. So think about it this way. If you completely separate Jesus from the gifts and the lights and you say the gifts and lights and everything else are over here and they're separate from Jesus and the two don't ever mix, then you're really saying that the gifts and the lights are a waste of time. But if we're saying that these things, these blessings and festivities of the Christmas season are good gifts from the hand of our good Father, then suddenly you can worship Him by enjoying His blessings. I hope you see the distinction that I'm trying to make. Yes, you can take it too far. We must ensure that we are receiving these things with glad and sincere hearts and not valuing or desiring any of it over and above the giver himself. And that would be my beef, by the way, with over-embellishing the Santa Claus narrative, right? I want my kids, for example, to know that everything we have is from the Lord's hand. So if I raise my kids to believe that every good thing that they receive at Christmas time is because of Santa Claus, and I don't remind them, and I don't tell them and teach them and drill into them that actually everything we have is from the Lord, right? I'm not saying to my kids that, well, Santa Claus didn't give you that, mom and dad, as much as I want to say, well, God's the one who ultimately gives us everything that we have. He's the giver of good gifts. He's the one you should be thanking for everything you see around you. He should be the one that you're grateful to, that you get to just enjoy the Christmas season. At MissionWay, I think this is a good example of what I want to talk about. At MissionWay, we have what we call Christmas Eve service. Instead of Christmas Eve on December 24th, we have a special worship service, candlelight, carols, kids moment, all the traditional things on the 23rd. One of the reasons for that, and there are several reasons for it, but one of the reasons that we made that shift is because a lot of people have family traditions and obligations that happen on Christmas Eve. And so a lot of times people will go to church and then go to family events, and it becomes just a really busy, stressful day on Christmas Eve. So by us gathering the day before, on the 23rd, we're saying that first and foremost, Christ is the center of all this. Before we get to the festivities, before we do all the things that we're about to do, we want to begin by acknowledging that Jesus is the center of all these things. And then on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, people have the chance to freely enjoy their families and all the good gifts of the Christmas season without having a major scheduling conflict. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it or the best way to do it. I'm saying this is the reason why we do it this way. We're not saying that family and church conflict with one another, so you need to make sure and have different days for both. We're saying that Jesus, yes, He tells us to gather with His people to worship Him, but we do that every Sunday, regardless of what day it is. So we have this extra special service in the middle of the week that says we want to acknowledge Christ here too. We want to have this special service here too. And we want to be able to love our families well because Jesus tells us to do that too. We want to be able to spend time with our loved ones. We want to spend time in our homes in family worship, in our homes enjoying the blessings of Christmas together. We think that's a good thing too. So again, you can disagree with the reasoning of that if you like. And this episode is not about MissionWay's decision to have Christmas Eve services. But I personally see it as a huge blessing that in no way communicates that Jesus and his church are of less importance. It just is a way for us to say we believe all of this is good. We believe we can worship when we come together for this special service. We primarily worship together on Sunday mornings, right? Again, no matter what. But then we also have this special service where we come together and worship. And we also think it's good that you do get to spend time with your families around this season. We think it's good for you to be with them and love on them and share that special time together. I don't want you to hear me saying something simplistic like, well, you can have Jesus and your presence, because that's not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm saying that you can worship Jesus through your enjoyment of his good gifts. And here's the other thing. If the lights went out, the presents were slim, the family events were canceled, you would still have the giver of good gifts himself. You would still have the truth of Emmanuel, God with us, and you would still have every reason for hope and joy and peace in the Christmas season. You can take away the gifts, you can take away the eggnog, you can take away the hot chocolate and the Christmas trees and all those things. You can take all of that away, and we still have a reason to celebrate. That doesn't mean that we cannot enjoy those gifts. That doesn't mean we should feel guilty for spending time in these other things, because in doing that, in partaking of these things with glad and thankful hearts, we can worship Jesus. And if all of it was stripped away and Christmas wasn't what you expected it to be, you could still say with Job, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Whether he gives me these good things or not, he's still the giver of good gifts. He's still my Savior. He's still my Lord. He's still worthy of worship. Maybe this is a helpful way to think about this too. Think about every blessing around you, all of the things that you love about the Christmas season, okay? Think of all of those things as signs pointing to the one from whom all blessings flow. That is a good way to view this, I believe, to look at all of the good things that you enjoy in this season or any time of year for that matter, and see them as signs pointing directly to the one from whom all blessings flow. And if you find yourself lacking in tangible blessings this Christmas, these gifts and presents and lights and traditions and things that many of us like to hold on to, if you find yourself lacking in these things, remember that your greatest blessing can never be taken away from you, that Christ was born for you. I hope that this episode was not meant to be communicating anything controversial. It was not meant to do anything other than to be an encouragement to you that in the midst of enjoying these things, you can actually do it for the sake of worship. You can do it in a way that is worshiping Jesus Christ as you enjoy the good gifts that he's given. And maybe it is a challenge for you, because maybe you've tended to enjoy these things without giving much thought to the fact that they come from the Lord. Maybe you've separated Jesus from his blessings, and I don't think we should do that. I think we should see all of these things as directly from his hand, because every good and perfect gift comes down from above, from the Father of lights, with whom there is no shadow or variation due to change. So I pray for you this Christmas season that you'd be able to enjoy it in this way. And no matter what happens, whether this is a great Christmas season or a difficult one or anything in between, I pray that no matter what, your eyes would be fixed on not ultimately the gifts themselves, but the giver of these good gifts, worshiping him, finding your hope and peace and joy and love in him and him alone. Merry Christmas. If I don't get to see those of you that I know this Christmas season, I'm grateful for those who have listened. I am pretty sure that this will end up being the last episode that I do for the year 2025. Maybe I'll get one in just before the new year, but more than likely, I'll pick back up podcasting, Lord willing, in January. And for those of you who have been asking, this is a kind of a special announcement, I guess. Some of you listen to the other podcast that I do, the Calvary Catechism, and it's been a long time since we've done an episode over there. I want you to know that Nate and I are talking about a plan to get in place to begin doing that podcast again more regularly. If you don't know much about the Calvary Catechism podcast, check it out. In the meantime, if you need something to listen to while Hold Fast is on a holiday hiatus, we've got many episodes over there. It's different than this podcast in that it's a deep dive theology podcast, and episodes can be an hour or more. So it's a different vibe. It's a different type of podcast, but I pray that it's still an encouragement to you in your faith and helps you grow in your knowledge and love for Jesus. And again, if you are a listener of that podcast, hopefully, Lord willing, next year we'll get to be a little bit more consistent with that. I know we love doing it, and I know many of you have asked about that, so we are working on that. Thanks again, as always, for listening to Hold Fast. As I said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Lord willing, I'll be back in 2026 with another episode of Hold Fast. God bless.